record it to my computer and then I'll share it on my Vimeo channel for whoever wants to look back at it again.
Thank you.
Oh, I just opened it from back. I can't.
Thank you all for joining. This is quite an exciting thing. I kind of sometimes I'm super excited and sometimes I think, oh, why did we start this? Because the puzzle's sort of coming together now, but not completely. So we started with a survey and we filled about half the slots, but then it's going to be a challenge to actually make it work for 24 hours. And also creating some kind of a continuity, but it was, I don't know how many of you know Tommaso, who's from class 7. So he's an Italian boot camper who lives in the Netherlands. And he had this crazy idea. He said, why don't we do 24 steps in 24 hours? And the idea just stuck. And then when we told Bill, he said, oh, you're completely crazy, you guys. But he said he would support us. So that should be fun. Also, because in all the Zoom calls we've had in the past, we've always had this dilemma of some people, hi, Ben, some people being able to join because of the timing and some people not being able to join. So doing it 24 hours should be super democratic and give everyone a chance. Hello, welcome everyone. Nice to see you. So people are kind of trickling in and we're expecting between 15 and 20. So we'll just, how should we start this? Hi, Daniel.
Hi.
Oh, this is fun because we're having so many different cohorts all coming together. And what I love about these online calls is just the kind of mixing that couldn't happen yet in real life, even though we hope to kind of to also create an in-person meeting at some point. So some of you I only know by name or for having seen your pictures on Facebook and knowing that you've joined the community at some point. So yeah, there are 9 of us. And one thing we could also experiment in this call, and we've done it once or twice before, is if there are very many of us, in order to brainstorm better, we could create the so-called breakout rooms where we could break into smaller groups, but still within this virtual space. So it means like you don't need to dial out and into something else. It's just that I can actually split us into small groups for conversation, which might be nice if we get very numerous. Yeah, so I'm thinking, shall we give it a few minutes for people to come in, and shall we start with just like a check-in? And so we could each, what I suggest is we each say our name, where we're sitting at this moment, which bootcamp class we attended, and maybe 1 or 2 words about your area of passion. And then when someone is done, you pass the talking stick to someone else so that we don't get stuck. So I can start. My name is Rachel Hensch. I live in Rome, Italy, and I attended bootcamp class 3. And my passion is finding ways to keep ecosystems alive and connected, and communities in particular. And I pass the talking stick to Daiki. Hey, Giovanni.
Hi, my name is Daiki, and I'm originally from Japan, and I'm currently a college student in State University of New York, and I attended class 8, and my passion is social entrepreneurship, specifically in education.
And pass it to?
Oh, I can choose? I don't know. I will actually pass it to Najib. Oh, you're muted.
Oh, you need to click your little microphone icon so we can hear you.
Sorry for this, everyone. My name is Najib. I'm from Palestine. Attended class 8. I'm passionate about finding new ways to integrate AI and mining unstructured data into helping businesses better understand their own environment. And I'm going to give it to Danielle.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Daniel Katzenberger, calling from Minneapolis, Minnesota in the United States. More specifically, I'm in a conference room at Best Buy's corporate headquarters. Let's see, I was with class 2 in 2015, and that was at MIT in Cambridge. Life-changing experience, so still around. And passion is sustainability and renewable energy. So, and I will pass it to Giovanni.
Hello everyone, I'm Giovanni from boot class 7 in Brisbane. I originally Italian, currently I live in Spain, and I'm following different online courses on the MicroMaster credential, and I will pass to Pagna.
Am I in now? Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Panya Damlevi. I attend MIT Bootcamp Class 4 at MIT campus. And let's see, my passion is in education. And also right now I'm calling from Georgia, USA. Oh, okay, sorry. I will pass to, I see only 5 people. So how do, oh wait, there are 13. Okay, I can pass to Gloria Santos.
Hi. My name is Gloria Santos, and I'm currently located in Mexico. I'm actually from Guam and moved over to Mexico to help a startup out here. I'm from boot class 1, and my passion is entrepreneurship and specifically creating jobs. I'm going to pass over to Andres. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andres. I was part of the first cohort as well. And I'm passionate about connecting knowledge and connecting people from different backgrounds, different systems around solving complex challenges. And I pass it to, I arrived late, so I don't know if already has introduced himself. I pass it to Tommaso if he hasn't introduced himself.
Oh yeah, I'm here. Just arrived, so I don't know how many people are in this call, but it's crazy. It's something that we discussed with Rachel a couple of time ago about these 24 hours, and it's already happening, so it's funny. So I'm Tommaso from Italy, but currently in Rotterdam, in North Europe. Shitty weather, as you can see from my jacket. I'm running 2 companies. Yeah, I know I'm a bit crazy. They're both into tech. So I actually love entrepreneurship so far that I'm doing. Because, I mean, there is nothing more than learning something like entrepreneurship just by doing it. It's the only way to know. And I already noticed that with my second company, a lot of mistakes that I've done before, I'm already avoiding. So, I mean, even if you fail, you learn. And this stuff, no investor will take it back. So, and no bank, no loan. So it's just your experience. So let's do something. I don't know who arrived before, later. I just see Daiki, Yoshioka. maybe somebody from Tokyo last bootcamp. So I'm curious to know about you.
I'm not from Yeah, I've actually introduced already, but and yeah, I'm from class 8, so I didn't attend the bootcamp in Tokyo. I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry. Then who is next? I don't know because
Yeah, I can help you out, Tommaso. So Israel hasn't spoken yet.
Oh, Israel, how are you?
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah, nice. Well, I'm Israel. I'm from cohort 7, I guess, cohort 7. And I went to the boot camp in Queensland, Australia. I'm dialing from Brazil, Brazil, the capital. And I'm passionate about using Internet of Things to make life easier and to use entrepreneurship to do so. I pass on to Wayne.
Hey everyone, Wayne, originally South African, dialing in from Kent, United Kingdom, which is where I now call home. I am from the Tokyo Bootcamp. I see a couple familiar faces here, so we're fresh off it. Yeah, life-changing, man. I am passionate about dragging very big, very slow companies who've been doing the same thing for 100 years, kicking and screaming into the 22nd century and showing them, look at technology and look how it can help you. Yeah. I will pass the stick on to Ben.
All right. Thanks, Wayne. Like Wayne, I was also a part of the Tokyo Bootcamp. So just got back from that a couple weeks ago, and that was a pretty amazing experience. I'm from the United States, specifically Birmingham, Alabama. I'm currently actually on the Pennsylvania Turnpike driving down the road, so but that's all right. So my big passion is honestly entrepreneurship within a corporation, so the entrepreneurship aspect. So that's kind of my focus. And I'm going to pass it on to Pascal.
Yeah, hi guys, I'm Pascal. I'm originally from Germany. I'm at the moment in Australia working on a company. I've been part of the cohort from Brisbane this year in February. And yeah, so what we're doing, I'm passionate about matching backpackers and students to employers, local employers. I've been a backpacker myself in Australia and struggled sometimes to find the right job, and employers struggling to find the right people. So we're serving international students and backpackers to employers, local employers. That's about me. I joined a bit late, so I have no idea who has spoken and who not. So maybe someone can help me.
Yeah, I think we're missing Abhijit, right? Did I say your name right? Abhijit? Oh, I can't hear you. Can the others hear you? You did unmute your microphone, but we're not hearing your voice. Maybe you need to activate your computer mic. Uh-oh. Not hearing you. You can either try to dial out and dial back in, or type and we'll read it out. Whichever you think is okay. Well, wait a second. The wonders of technology. So we always take for granted the mic is going to work and the video is going to work. And sometimes we get some surprises. Oh, good, you've got earmuffs. Hello? Uh-oh, nope, we're not hearing.
Tommaso. I think Tommaso has not yet, right?
Tommaso has spoken. I think everyone else has, but we didn't all catch each other. So okay. I'll just let everyone know, because I said it in the beginning, this call is actually being recorded, so we can refer back to it later. And so don't they say anything too naughty, because it's going to go down in the archives. But this way we could also, be a little bit free from taking notes, because we can then just go back and rewind and look. But Abhijit, I hope you can solve your audio, because we'd love to hear you speak. Oh, okay. So you're from Detroit and from the Tokyo Boot Camp, and your passion is spreading education. Cool. So yeah, we have lots of people passionate about, education and uplifting others, which is quite fitting for this 24-hour conference that we're planning. So what I'm going to do now, I'm not quite sure how many of you are familiar with Zoom and how familiar you are. So you may have noticed that there is a chat bubble, and Ben, don't do this if you're driving, but I was thinking of posting just a link with a collective document that is only meant to be a starting point for us to be able to also continue whatever ideas we start to share during this. Oh wait, so Abhijit said also his passion is also space technology. Oh, that's cool. I wish Stefan was here, because he's our space guy. Okay, so I'm posting this link into the chat, and Ben, please don't go look for it. It's in the chat, and I will send it to everyone in the notes as well. So if you want to open it up and kind of toggle between the windows and look at it, it's just a guideline to sort of see what sorts of points we could be covering together this evening, or this afternoon, this morning, depending on where you are. And I've made it editable so that we can all go in and add anything that comes to mind during the call or afterwards, so that then we can kind of just build on this. And I hope this is a good way for us to, maximize our ideas and how to create something that is going to reflect what all of us want. So I see many of you are in it. So the topics I was thinking that we might want to address, and please just jump in if you think anything's missing or anything's not sort of relevant right now, but is to review where we're at the moment in terms of what we've got mapped out for the 24 steps. So this 24 hours thing is going to happen on the 24th of May. So we have basically just under 4 weeks to design and deliver. So we review what we've got. We decide on how we want to actually design it, and I'd love, for us to do this together. I have an idea, but I'd love for us to co-create this, and then define tasks so that everyone knows what they're doing, and assign some roles, so who can do what. And the idea is to have like a weekly planning call, just for those of you who feel like you got to point and you want to check in. And of course we can also create extra calls, but it'd be nice to just have a planned call every Thursday. That means that with this one we would have 3 other calls, which is a total of 4 calls, which I think is probably the minimum to actually get everything mapped out properly. And then in the document I've listed a few roles that came to my mind while I was making the notes, but there's probably other things I haven't thought of. So that said, I'm wondering now, do we want to stay 15 of us all together inside the space and kind of go through the various things, or do you think it'd be maybe an idea to split into, for example, 5 rooms of 3 people, and each group decides to look at one topic or one theme? How do you feel about that? Because 15 is a number where we could stay together, but if we're in smaller rooms, maybe we get more of a chance to kind of also connect.
We should stay together for the first phone calls, and then the second one, the third one, we can start to break groups by the the passions.
I'm sorry, Panya, can you repeat that? I didn't quite get what you said.
I said for our first phone call for today, because we only have 15, maybe we stay together and then see how we can work and break into smaller groups.
Okay.
In my-
That could, that makes sense. Also because that way we could probably see who is drawn towards what, right? And then we could have groups where everyone is doing something that they're feeling more fired up about. I think do we have someone else who joined us, and I'm not sure, someone with a number instead of a name, whose word we haven't heard, whose voice we haven't heard, I mean, sorry. Who's 1520184? Someone maybe with a phone, right? So just wanted to acknowledge your presence. Not sure whether you are able to speak. And if you've never used Zoom before, maybe, and if you're on a phone, you might need to swipe on your screen so that your microphone unmutes. And if that doesn't work and you want to type into the chat to let us know something, that's fine too. Okay, so we're going to stay together, which is great also because with the recording, actually, if we stay together, we'll get a recording that makes more sense. So running through these points, if you are in the document and you click on the host speaker gaps, if you click on that, it actually opens on to a first map that I've made with all the time slots and all the corresponding 24 steps. So I've put the time slots in Boston time and Central European time, and maybe I'll also add in later the conversion tool so that everyone can work out their own. My concern right now is that some people have selected a step, but they may not be aware that the step they've chosen is at a certain given time, which might not necessarily correspond with something feasible for them. So it might be, you know, they're 3 a.m. or they're 4 a.m. So that's something I think that needs to be checked with each person who has volunteered to speak. So there's that thing, is checking, like, is everyone good with that? And if not, one idea that came up was to pre-record some of the presentations, although that would mean losing out on the interactivity of, you know, that speaker with the rest of the community. So what are your thoughts about that? Because I think that's the only way to really make it work, because otherwise it means that people will kind of be tied to a time zone and to a time slot and not necessarily be able to speak about the topic that they're more knowledgeable about, or that the ones that they have more questions about. And Tommaso, I don't know whether you wanted to jump in with any further thoughts around the speakers, because one hypothesis was that for each hour we could have up to 2 or 3 speakers, but I don't know whether that's realistic. If that's too much, or is it better to have 1 speaker per hour? So I think we need to have a host and we need to have a speaker for each hour, like as a minimum starting point to have something that inhabits the space. And then I think 2 speakers would be nice, because it would also create some back and forth. And the idea was the speaker can either present learnings from that step that they have actually carried out in their business or in their educational environment, or it could be a question that you're coming into about your project. So you, for example, you're doing PMR and you've run into something, and you come as a speaker to ask your questions to the community and get like collective wisdom coming back in the form of, you know, other people's experiences. So it's a very, I'm seeing this very much as a peer thing, a peer mentorship thing, and not so much as a webinar and people kind of just doing presentations, because it'll be a meeting kind of format. Yeah, Tommaso.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I agree. So, I mean, I don't know what the other think, because actually we can still design whatever we like. But let's say, I mean, the idea I had in mind, it was, let's say it could be let's call it like the structure therapy, no? I mean, you sit somewhere and you speak about your status, because I think that, I mean, even if maybe somebody has one company, somebody has two, somebody has done something in the past, or somebody wants to start something. I mean, I think that everybody here shares the same languages. So it's going to be super beneficial for example, in my case, I speak about my case. For example, I will be very curious to discover more about what is the core of my company, because the fact that for me it's always difficult to see from outside, no? Because to see the core, you need to have this distance view to see, okay, this is what we have, this is what makes us unique. So, and actually speaking with somebody who doesn't know nothing, who's living in Japan, it's going to be very useful for me, because it's going to force me to go very far from my reality. And it's going to help me a lot. So it's like, I see a sort of like, I start with what I'm doing. I try to narrow down to the step. My case is the core. And then I give you the elements and you start to ask me questions. And together we can combine this puzzle. This is the way I see it. I mean, of course, maybe it might go somewhere else, but it's good as well. I mean, this is my thought, but now you have to play with it.
Cool. So Tommaso, does that mean you're in for step number 10? Can we put you down for call?
Yeah, I really would love to. I have to understand if I manage to be awake. But definitely this could be the step that right now is the one that I need the most. Yeah, because it's going to be cool to do. I would love to spend 1 hour speaking about my company, focus on this step. Will be super useful for me. Yeah, why not? I just need some coffee and I can be there.
I'm just going to add to that. I really like the idea. I think we just, for the individuals that will be tuning in, I think we just need to set the expectation properly of a portion of this will be talking about the challenges that we're having currently about that particular topic. And a portion of this is this presentation is going to be talking about maybe sharing feedback and ideas. So kind of setting a structure and expectation for the viewers.
Yes, I think that's a very good point you're making, Gloria. Framing it in the right way so that people know what they're coming in to experience.
So
I think one key.
Can you guys?
Are we hearing Abhijit or not?
Yeah. So can we guys hear me now clearly?
Yes.
Okay. So
yes.
Okay. So my idea was if someone has a particular questions, they are facing some problems in any particular section, of the 24 sections, we can have some pre-planned questions, someone has questions, we can clarify about that topic. Among the 3 speakers, we can have one speaker who clarifies on that topic.
I'm not sure I got completely what you said. So Abhijit, are you saying you're considering the case of having 3 speakers on one topic, and is it about how to subdivide the speaking into 3 parts?
No, we have 3 speakers, so one can present his company's case or whatever he has learned. One can speak about the topic, what are the general details or the definitions of the topic, and third person can answer the questions all the attendees have maybe in an interactive session or in a session people can send in questions like earlier, like, and we can prepare on that, like with like more information search on the internet, like about those answers, like that.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. So this is kind of making me think that perhaps there's not going to be one format that's applicable throughout, but maybe each cluster of speakers. If you, for example, if Abhijit, you are speaking on a topic and you have two other people who are speaking on the same topic, it might mean that you and these other two speakers actually come up with how you want to design that hour, right? Because we will have cases where we have maybe just one speaker, other cases where we have two. And so it would actually be really nice if we had small groups working together to actually come up with a variety of designs throughout the conference. I think that could be quite interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree
I
to
just
that.
want to go ahead.
I think that the more customizable that we can be, the better, because I mean, we're going to tap into very different zones and very different cultures. So probably my best guess is that when someone from a time zone speaks, the person will probably be speaking with the same language and cultural aspects. If we get this flexibility, it will be the best. I think that's my opinion.
I also think it would be an interesting idea to, dedicate one speaker to one chat. Like, given this event will happen in Zoom, I know that, we can split or, group people into different call, I think. So I think it would be a good, interesting idea to, one speaker having an entire chat or entire call for certain topic, for certain format. I think that'll be interesting too.
So, Daiki, do you mean actually during the conference creating separate rooms?
Yeah, separate rooms. Like, actual conferences have like different rooms and different workshop and different presentations going on. I think we could do similar things.
Well, that sounds exciting, but it sounds like really complex also, because if one of the outputs that we're aiming to create at the end of this is to create some kind of a way to harvest what's going to happen over these 24 hours so that we can capture it and save it for the benefit of the community also as a reference. So one of the ideas was to video record it and then
I see.
have all these topics. So if we do start creating sub-rooms within this large room, then we'll be losing that because we wouldn't be able to record.
Yeah.
Only one person can record, who is the host in this case. Like today, it's me. So if we were to do breakout rooms now, I would probably be recording one of the spaces, but not all of them.
Right.
And I'm also wondering, like, how it also depends on how many will be, because it could be that at certain hours there will be 50 alumni dialing in, and then at other times just 2 or 3. So we also need to be flexible on that. So I like the idea of the rooms, but I'm just thinking maybe as a first experience, it could be a little bit too much to handle. And maybe that's something we could look at, in a second iteration, maybe.
Right. Yeah, I can see that.
I just want to add one thing. So you mentioned this becoming an artifact later on. If that's the case, I kind of want to build on what Abhijit was talking about earlier, where if you start the talk or at some point cover actually this topic itself and kind of get into definition and some best practices, I think that would be a really good outcome as part of that end artifact that we're looking at.
Yes, I agree. That would be. And it's a pity Maria's not here, but she had actually posted into the Facebook group she's actually interested in collecting case histories of applications for her students because she's teaching entrepreneurship at the business school in Copenhagen. So this I think is something that's going to be interesting for educators if we manage to create something that not just revisits the 24 steps, but brings in new experiences of how it's been applied, how it's working, and what difficulties people are encountering in applying those. So yeah, I'm wondering at the moment, so I think our first challenge in in just getting this thing off the ground is to fill the gaps. So one question I was wondering about is, I don't know how many of you here have actually seen the survey, and do you think we need to push the survey out again, and how? Or would it be better for us to kind of reach out to, say, our respective cohorts and try and just enroll people into, because it's not very much use if we have people looking in the survey and selecting their topics and we end up having 10 people interested in talking about, say, step 5 and nobody looking at the other one. So maybe the survey was a good thing to kick it off, but now we have a mapping of where we need to be. And someone today commented, it was really interesting, I can't remember who it was, who looked at the map and looked at all the empty slots and said, oh, now we see like where we run into trouble as students of the 24 steps, because like the first part is quite populated with people wanting to step in, and then there's this, then it gets more complex. So it's probably also a reflection of where we're at, or those people who are very expert in those areas are not hanging out on social media, so they don't know about this. That could also be, it might be that we need to be looking elsewhere to call these people in for, say, steps 12, 13, 14. So yeah, I'd love to get some ideas, like what do you think about populating all the spaces? What are your kind of thoughts about?
Perhaps changing the mindset of these two separate things about the host and the speakers. Perhaps we can think not on host, but on catalyzers of the whole experience. And instead of speakers, considering everyone who joins as a speaker. But I'm thinking on the unstructured therapy that Tommaso talked about, because if we have only one table to fill out, we could have all the people needed right now. And one interesting output out of the experience could be realizing how are we struggling or thriving within the 24 steps. Because for me, I will only be able to join at one time, but it's limited by my time zone, not by my interest. So maybe I can join at my 8 o'clock, but if the step at that time is just about the next 10 persona, the next 10 customers, but I'm in the step 2 or 3 of the persona, I might not be interested in joining to the 10 steps because I'm too early or perhaps too late. So given a little bit of flexibility can give us a lot of somehow freedom, and at the same time could give us the sense that we are a little further in the planning of the 24 steps.
You mean like a mediator?
Yes, perhaps we can change the mindset and become the catalyzer, the mediators, and use everyone involved as the speakers, hearing the people, and perhaps having as the output of each hour a small survey of which are the steps you are struggling and which are the steps you are thriving. I'm not sure. I'm trying to be as flexible as possible. I'm trying to build up on the Tommaso idea of the therapy, unstructured therapy, with a psychologist.
I think that's a nice idea.
I agree. Sounds good.
Yeah, I like that. That's good.
So does that mean that potentially it ends up being completely unstructured, and so there's not 1 hour to one step, and it could be just a mishmash? Or do we try to address in whatever way somehow that step? Or
perhaps we can structure a little the minimum output and the minimum expectations, but not necessarily a structure. How is it going to happen to get this or more than we expected? I don't know. I'd like to focus on the freedom, to leave space for freedom, because in the 24 steps and the 24 different time zones, the constraints are not by interest, but many different factors.
That's true. Yeah, that would make it much more manageable in terms of not like getting all panicky about filling slots, which was, I guess that was what it was becoming about.
And if you put the two tables together, maybe we can have less spaces to fill.
True. Because at the moment, so we have two mappings. One is of the hosts and one of the speakers. And indeed, I like the idea of everyone being speakers. It's more of a peer atmosphere.
And we are assuming that we are already went to the bootcamp. So in a sense, we are already familiar with the 24 steps. Now we need to find out where are we struggling and where are we thriving.
So just to add to that, maybe the mediator can actually talk about the best practices that they've done, and then kind of start off there, and then kind of just have everybody start providing some input, and then do some follow-up questions, just making sure that if somebody's going to speak, either raise your hand or pass the torch before you, so that not everybody's speaking at the same time.
Oh yeah, so that's something that the mediators, we could just have like a little briefing on that. So there's just the Zoom hygiene. There's a way that everyone can be muted. So for example, now as technical host, I would be able to just with one click mute everybody and then instruct people to unmute when they want to speak. And then there's the hand raising functionality, which people can virtually raise their hand. If there are not too many of us, we could also physically raise our hands and, signal we want to speak. So there are ways to kind of just make sure it doesn't become really disorderly. I'm just reading now that a few things that were typed in. So Pascal asks, do we expect that the speakers are former boot campers, or can it be someone else as well? That's a good question. So far, I think the assumption was it's just for the alumni. But that's, of course, open to discussion. I mean, someone could feel very strongly about wanting to bring someone else in from either their own team or someone they know. So that's something I think that definitely could be interesting. I mean, Andres, were you going to say something?
Something interesting can be talking to the MIT Bootcamps team and sending some invitation to the people that are enrolled in the courses in the MOOCs. We can get people that can be engaged and starting to learn. And in that regard, it can be interesting both for them and both for us.
That's a really, I like that, yeah.
Because I have been receiving many emails from extra activities from the MOOCs and stuff like that. And this can be a very interesting way to engaging beyond the MOOC and creating the community.
Yeah, that would be like almost like a taster for them of what the boot camp community could be. And I'm not sure like who would be able to even then aspire to boot camp, because that's a whole set of extra criteria compared to the MOOC, and it's less accessible. But it would be it might be a nice idea to include those people. So I would, I think based on Pascal's question and your comment, Andres, I would feel quite happy to open it up beyond just the alumni community. But I'd also love to know if someone's like very strongly against that. to feel, you know, safe to voice that too. I mean, that's
Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, this is going to be an organizational kind of, it's a pilot, right? So there's going to be a lot of issues as we make it through this first one. I think my personal opinion is we should keep it within the group, see how it goes, and then on the second one, if it's successful, then maybe. But I'm not against bringing other people in. I'm just trying to think of the logistical challenges we're going to have with trying to keep on the air for 24 hours with content for 24 hours, basically. And then to that end, what I was just thinking while everyone was talking is, one thought might be, because I've seen a lot of these things done, right? I'm in organizations that do these 24-hour events, and there is some pre-recorded material, right? So maybe for each of the 24 steps, we could have a pre-recorded presentation that would give us content that we could play one time. So let's just say it's 30 minutes for each of the 24 steps. So we got 30 minutes of presentation, and then we'd have 30 minutes of open discussion after that, where people could chime in. But then if there's nobody chiming in or nobody tuned in, we could replay a section or something like that, right? So you just fill the time, so you've got the whole 24 hours taken over. And then the advantage of that is then we would have that content for future things, right? So then if we want to bring in other people to another one of these, it's very easy to put together because we've got half the content done. And then we can refine it, but just some thoughts I'll throw out there.
Yeah, I think that's really good idea. Sorry, Ezra.
Oh, I'm sorry. You mean that we record before the 30 minutes presentation and then have a discussion?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So we have something pre-recorded for each one, because then we'll be 100% guaranteed to have each slot filled. And then if there's a technical problem or if there's someone gets sick or whatever, we're not going to be sitting there for a half hour trying to throw together a discussion last minute on the fly, right? Especially with this being 24 hours, we're not going to be sure who's on all of those 24 hours. I assume some of us will be there the entire 24 hours to make sure it's running correctly, but just to have some pre-recorded content, and then that can start filling a library that we can start using for the future. So, you know, maybe eventually we have our own online boot camp just for alumni of the boot camp. I don't know.
I like that idea a lot, Daniel. I'm just thinking logistically, like, whoa, this, how do we pull this off? So do we get everyone to do, all the people who are willing to kind of to self-record themselves? Because even if we were to approach this as an interview thing, that's a lot of hours of interviewing, unless we can distribute it amongst ourselves. But I really like the idea of pre-recording too. I know Andres kind of said that we sort of lose the interactivity, but I think it'd be nice to have both. So we have the pre-recorded, as Daniel says, to kick off things and to fall back upon, which would be great. And it also means some of the work is done previously. It also allows people who wanted to talk about a topic who can't make it at that hour to actually contribute in some way. And I'm also reading Abhijit typed into the chat, addressing the Andres idea and retain the structure. In that case, we can ask for recorded videos too, for steps we are missing. If we get, oh, that's true. So we might have someone who can talk about a step, but who can't make it on the conference, so that we could then, yeah. And then he also writes, if we get speakers, we can go for live speakers, or else we play pre-recorded videos. So I think, yeah, the pre-recorded videos are definitely a building block of this event. And we can, so they'll be useful for preparing for it, for during the event, and also for afterwards for our video library. So how can we, I would kind of be inclined to ask people to send selfie videos. Also because that way they can record it the way they like. Some people might be good at video creation and even, you know, do animations or video editing. It could be made fun and different for each. So it would also make it simpler to actually collect, because people would just be sending in their video files, right? Otherwise, it becomes a huge undertaking to have someone kind of direct and record and edit. So I'm assuming
I think
that
it
would
would be good to have the people, like, yeah, what you're suggesting, have the people themselves create whatever sort of video they want to create. And I think it's actually another advantage of that is that they'll have to solidify their message a bit, right? If they're just going to come on in a discussion, they might not prepare at all. They might just show up at the hour and start discussing. But if they have to do, and it doesn't have to be a half hour, maybe it's a 15, 20-minute video or whatever it is, but they prepare it, you know, they have to submit it so they know people are going to review it before it goes out in the air, so it might be better quality. So I think there's a lot of advantages of doing some pre-recording, not all of it, obviously. But we still want to, otherwise we don't need to do it over 24 hours if there's not going to be live interactivity. So I think the interactivity is important. So.
What if we have, okay, sorry. So what if we had like the liberty to like we record the video, and then if the discussion is very heated and we wanna like discuss what we did in the video and just go on with the conversation type. And okay, we have the video there, but if we don't see it good for using at the moment, then we don't like. I mean, it would be a waste of time for the recording, but anyway.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like any live TV show, right? You're gonna have a producer that's calling the shots and saying screen A and screen B. And if you put something on and all of a sudden viewership goes from 100 down to 5, then it's like, well, maybe this isn't working. Let's flip it around or something. I think that's part of the pilot aspect of it, the failing forward, learning. So.
Yeah, I forgot we have a production expert here, Dan.
Who? Not me. I'm just saying that. I'm not saying it's me.
No. I know you have experience in television, right?
Yeah, I do. I have some. So I mean, that's what I'm trying. That's what I'm thinking of the logistics of. You know, if we just leave this completely live, there's going to be a lot of dead air, basically.
Absolutely.
And so if we have at least some pre-recorded stuff, we can always go back to it. You know, and
yeah, I think it's great to have that to fall back upon and to, you know, solve any kind of issues that might come up, which would create like complete gaps, like you were saying. So I think it's definitely something that we can start putting together in the coming few weeks, and it'll just give us a much more solid base to be building out from and just make things easier, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the advantage of that too, then I think, is if we have several people that are interested in the same topic or the same hour, then they could each work on individual videos maybe, and like then each one gets a 10-minute video. So the 10-minute video, then a 10-minute discussion, and a 10-minute video, and a 10 or something. You know, we can work out the logistics after we kind of know what the content is.
Yeah. Right. So we have 8 minutes to go, and I'd just like to invite whoever hasn't spoken and would like to say something, someone who's a little bit more shy and maybe didn't speak out, or is there anything you want to type and want us to read out? I think it was overall it was quite balanced, but maybe someone feels like they want to speak still.
I would like to share. Is there a way we can have like a collective group emails that we can send out a blast and sharing if any topics that we need speakers or hosts, that we can ask them to join even for 10 minutes or 20 minutes within those 24.
So we don't have, as an alumni community, we don't have the whole database with all the emails. So the way we can kind of access is that we have 2 reps for each cohort, and some of them are on, so each cohort behaves a little bit differently. Some are on WhatsApp, a lot. Some are in a Facebook group. Some have each other's emails. So that I remember the first 4 cohorts had each other's emails, and then boot camps started not giving them out anymore. So like classes 1 to 4 probably have email potential. And then there's the Mighty Networks, which is one way of getting to people, but it's not, so we always sort of have gaps. So the way we need to kind of go about it, I see that, for example, sometimes class 3 posts into the class 3 messenger group. And of course, not everyone's there, but some people can be reached that way. And I can think of a few people from my cohort whom I could reach out to personally. So I'm just kind of sitting in between, should we be doing blasts or kind of focused requests to focus to certain people? I'm not really sure.
Because
why not do both?
Go ahead.
Oh,
cool.
No, sorry, I just asked why not do both. I mean, we have a WhatsApp group, so I was planning on posting in there, but there's also a couple people that I think would be very good speakers for a couple of topics that I'm going to reach out to specifically as well.
Right. Okay. So do we use the mapping that I shared earlier to just kind of keep track of that, and we just add into that table when we find somebody, so that we can overall all be aware of where we do have people and where we're lacking people? Do you think, or are we falling again into the filling slots syndrome?
How active is the Facebook group?
Well, the global Facebook group is quite large, so it's got over 900 people, and it sort of holds all of the cohorts in one space, but not everyone is active in it, and some people check very frequently and some people don't check at all. So it's very kind of, there isn't one behavior. There are many kinds of social media behaviors. And we do have a few people in our Mighty Networks platform who is not in the Facebook group. So I even had difficulty in kind of just checking that they were actually boot campers, because I had no way of knowing. So I had to go kind of look at LinkedIn. So some people have, made it a point to stay off Facebook. So we're very kind of, in terms of mapping out who's using what, it's very fragmented. We don't have one. The only omni-comprehensive channel would be email, but we haven't got access to that, so we can't really operate that way. But I like what Ben said. We could probably just individually reach out to where we're able to. So those cohorts who have a WhatsApp will post into that. Those who have emails can use email. I will be posting into Mighty Networks again. And that way we have pretty much most of it covered, I guess. How do you feel about that, Panya?
I really love it. I really love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
One thing that we should be taken into account, that if we are going to collect videos and pre-record content, we need to set up a deadline for being sure that we have it on time, because otherwise we wouldn't be sure if we have it or not for the day. You are on mute.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a very good point. Deadlines, and as we all know, we set deadlines and then we always go past them, right? So we better have like a safety margin around this. So maybe what would be useful just before we leave this call is to kind of maybe, shall we decide like who wants to be doing what, so that we each have tasks that we can be pursuing, and then kind of start having a little bit of accountability, and then we can check back on how we've progressed and what's working, what's not, and who needs help where. So so the roles that I kind of jotted down was finding more speakers. We could all, I think that's something we could each do on our own side and just, right? And then we fill the map. And then prepping coordinating speakers, we scrapped that because we're saying we're going for a different format. So we don't need to kind of teach people what they need to be doing, but we need to just, I'm just thinking, how do we coordinate the videos? There probably will be some video editing required at some point. So the sooner we get the videos in, the better. So maybe, do we want to split up like the, like assign 2 or 3 steps or 1 or 2 steps to each of us, and just so each one is responsible for securing, making sure there's going to be a speaker or a recording or both for that step. So we are, how many of us are here at the moment? We're 12 now. There were 15 of us. Maybe not everyone will be able to do it, but shall we, let's see.
How about,
so,
how about
we
look at it based on like we're saying, there's going to be different people who want to do things in different ways. Some people will be really strong at creating a video and pre-recording it because they can plan it out, they can get it all down, they can do a couple different takes until they're comfortable with their message, whereas other people are very comfortable speaking live. They can either pre-do a presentation or they have that conversation, and I don't think it needs to be set to one to either. I really like the idea of having some pre-recordings, but I really enjoy attending a webinar because it's a live chat and there's that interaction with the different people. So maybe let people on that mapping system say what they want to do. They want to do a recording, or they want to chat, or they want to do a presentation, and we can start to see what different people want to start doing, and it'll give us a little bit of more ammunition to define how each module is going to get done.
How about 24 steps with 24 groups, and whoever join each group, then you can define speakers and hosts.
Oh, yeah.
So you have 24 groups and you put out there, say, okay, step 1, who are interested in this group, join. And then step 2 until to step 24, and then whoever join each group are part of that participation.
That could be, but Panya, did you see like the mapping so far? We've got like the first 6 to 8 steps really full, well, really full with lots of people wanting to speak about those, and then gaps. So I'm not sure how this would work in terms of groups. And then if we start trying to get people into groups before, it might be difficult because again of the time zones and the geographies. I'm just thinking, will it make
the speaker that sign up from 1 to 8, they are putting that as a responsibility of finding more resources from the group. And those who have not signed up for the 9 to 24 can be more. So then they can like, oh, okay, I'm interested in this to learn more. Or if I be a speaker for this topic, I will be able to find more help from other people, from 900 people in Facebook or social medias.
I'm just not sure everybody's going to approach it with that kind of, because I'm not assuming that who's volunteered to speak is also necessarily volunteering to be planning and managing a group, right? Because that entails a lot more. And I'm always concerned about what's the minimum we can each do and be useful to each other, and not make assumptions about people's time and commitment too much, because we've all got like so much going on. So I'm just fearful that might just drive people away in a sense. Like if suddenly we reach out to our speakers and say, oh great, now can you organize this group? It might just be too much to be asking. I feel kind of unsure about that.
It just reminded me of our first day after the orientation, that we all in 90 or 80 plus people, and then we have to find our own kind of like department, own passion, whoever have the same department, like education with education, technology with technology. But at the end, that's not how it works. At the end, each group need to have a hustler, or like
for different skill to be in a group, in a team to make it happen effectively. So it's just something that come up to my mind.
Yeah. So I think I like Wayne's idea of each person then just saying, well, you know, I'll speak about this. I prefer to pre-record, or I prefer to have an informal chat about my question, or I want to record a very professional presentation, and then maybe take it from there, so that we have the flexibility to just let the design kind of emerge from the individuals and what's happening. So I'm just wondering how do we wrap this up in terms of shall we just agree? So I'll share the recording into the 24 Steps Circle on Mighty Networks, which I'm assuming, are you all in it already? Have you joined it? Because I think it might be helpful to just agree that we have all the updates there, so that we're not going everywhere looking for them, and I don't have to post in a million places. So I'll share the recording. I'll make sure that those who wanted to be on will know where to find it. And then we progress offline via the collective documents. So if there's anything that comes to mind afterwards that you want to add in, or comments, or Tommaso?
Yeah, okay, so sorry. It was something that I was thinking, which maybe could be one of the reasons why we have so many speakers in the previous steps and not so many in the last one, because most of us, we started pretty early with pretty recently in our career, so we don't have all the business plan envisioned. And as a matter of fact, I've started after the bootcamp, which has happened 1.5 years ago, and I'm still struggling with the step 10, 12, something like that. So, which means, but on the other hand, many people, also among us, we are into corporate entrepreneurship. So, and corporate knows very well the later steps, no? So business model, cost of customer, maybe could be also, the way we are going to marketing to communicate our marathon could be also, if you're a manager for, I don't know, Coca-Cola, I don't want to sponsor any company, but, and you are struggling with the cost of customer acquisition for your special division, maybe it could be a nice way to apply your entrepreneurial mindset to come up with this. And then here you're going to know, without sharing any secrets, you can share some numbers, and people can really play with real cases, like a case study. So maybe if we open to corporate entrepreneurship, maybe we film all of these later steps, which are more into business processes, which are already in place. So could be an option. And we have many corporate people inside this bootcamp, and those are cases which also are part of their career. Maybe out of this they will get a promotion.
So are you thinking alumni, or are you thinking mentors and speakers who came to bootcamp?
No, I'm thinking about people who also have done the bootcamp with us. So alumni.
Okay. Oh, but who are working?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Yeah, that's
for instance, entrepreneurs who are within companies are very familiar with the later steps. Yes, agree?
Yeah, so as somebody who's actually an entrepreneur, I would agree that is very familiar. My biggest concern, the reason I signed up for an earlier step, was just time zone related. But with the option to pre-record, I don't even mind doing another one later on if we can, record and put it out there.
Mm-hmm. That's super cool. Oh, thanks, Ben. That would be wonderful. So please put your name next to whichever step you feel you could contribute to amongst the ones that are higher up in the numbers. Okay, so I think we'll call it a day, right? Because we're 8 minutes past and we try to stick to our schedules. So Shantanu, who is in India and wanted to join, but it says 2:30 a.m. I think that out of fairness, I'm going to try and convene next week's call at a slightly earlier hour, hoping that most of you can still make it. And of course, there's always going to be someone who can and someone who can't. So I'll try and alternate. I'll post everything into the group, and let's kind of take it from there. Let's progress it from there, because I think it was really great to kick this off face to face, and then we can probably do some work offline. And I'm always available for anything you want to ask that hasn't been addressed, or regarding this or the community. And Tommaso is our kind of mastermind for the 24 steps. So, but we're all in this together. And as Bill says, oh, and by the way, Bill is going to show up at some point. And I'm also speaking with a dean who says he will try and make time to show up at some point, but we don't know exactly at what time. So that's going to be like the bonus for those who stick around for longer. And yeah, so thank you. Thanks for being on the call. Thank you for your ideas. Oh,
picture.
The screen capture. Okay. So you all ready? We take, we do a cheese. Ben, are you able to appear with your face in Abhijit? Oh, nice. And Abhijit, can you put your video back on? And number 1520184, we don't know who you are. The mystery remains, but well, okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, cheese. Let me just check that I caught that. Hang on a second, otherwise we reshoot. Yeah, we got it. Thank you very much, everyone. Look forward to seeing you again, hopefully next week, and in the documents. Awesome. Have a good day, night, morning, afternoon.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.